everybody to another IAppreciate.org exclusive interview. My name is Altamash Iftikhar. I'm the president and founder of IAppreciate.org. It's a nonprofit organization to help raise money and awareness for victims of domestic violence. I have a very special guest with us today, TJ Duckett. He's been gracious enough to sit down with us and talk to us about domestic violence, so we're going to jump right into it. TJ, thanks a lot for coming by.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, definitely.
First of all, tell everyone a little about yourself and growing up, and if you've ever experienced domestic violence, either in your household directly or in your extended family, and kind of what was going through your mind.
Well, I'm from Kalamazoo. Went to Michigan State. Went to play football here. Went to school here. Played professional for a few years, and now back in town. And now being more involved in the community and trying to make a difference. That's why I'm here on your show, and appreciate what you guys do.
No doubt.
But growing up, I think it's something that everybody experiences one way, shape, or form, whether it's physical or verbal. I mean, just because you're not getting thrown against the wall or punched doesn't mean that some of the words that are said don't feel the exact same way. So, growing up, I'll say in my immediate family, we didn't have any issues of that. My mother and father really, well, I guess when I was growing, they got divorced when I was 3. So during that time, I didn't remember that. But when they were in separate spots, we lived in the same city. I used to run their house. So seeing them interact, I've never experienced any of that. I did have a stepdad at one point who did experience some of the abuse and some of the things, not on me directly, but on my mother. Okay. And I was like maybe 10. I was young.
Okay. Well, when you saw this happening, what was going through your mind?
At the time I was a big kid, so
you're pretty big right now too.
But it's different when you're a man and a kid.
Right.
So I mean, I couldn't do anything about it. Right. I wanted to, and at the time it just a lot of hatred just festered up inside, just kind of built up, and there was nothing I could do. And as I got older, my mom got out of the situation. So as I got older, that's really when it set in. Now that I'm 21, 22, still not a man yet, but I feel like I can handle myself, That's when it's now you take it out on other situations, Luckily, football was an outlet for me. But other people don't have that privilege, don't have that opportunity to you get older and you're frustrated. How do you let that out? And one thing I like about what you guys are doing is it's you don't have to wait till you're 21 to have this whole thing build up. Whether you're a 10-year-old kid and you want to get it out that next day, or you're a 40-year-old person and you want to get it out. I mean, it's still, just because your age doesn't mean any difference. As a matter of fact, it might even be harder for an older person to come out and talk about it because they are older and because that is embarrassing to them. So, I mean, this is a great program that you got going. And, like I said, in my experience, I went through it. I was 10. How do you go to school and say, hey, guess what's going on in my house?
Right.
I mean, let alone, that wasn't happening. That was just my mother. I mean, imagine the kids who are actually going through it, my classmates. So I mean, yeah, it definitely infected me a little bit.
Right. So, you played, like you said, you played, college ball, and you played, NFL ball. You played for the Falcons, played for the Redskins, played for the Seahawks,
and
Detroit.
Yeah.
So, did you ever experience a fellow teammate that was going through that, and if they did you do anything to try to get involved and try to help the situation?
A lot of the guys that I played with, I didn't experience any publicly. You know what I'm saying? Nothing we're never out and also like, man, what are they doing over there? It was never like that. You did have guys come to work and they talk about this and that, but never. I mean, they had so much love for their family, their wife, their kids. I couldn't. I mean, I haven't experienced any players who came in on anything that I played on, knowing all out that they were doing something. I mean, if anything, all the guys. I mean, I'm not saying everyone's perfect,
of course,
but no one. We didn't have any. The teams there was no. This guy's going home, beating his wife, beating his kids, coming to work. None of that was ever an issue for our teams I played on.
Okay. Well, that's good. Because, you know, oftentimes you hear, you know, in the news, like the most recent one was, I was just talking to you before the interview about Junior Seau. Now, obviously, all the facts aren't out yet about the situation, but they said that domestic violence, it was a domestic dispute, and he had been arrested for that. So, you know, it's something that comes out often.
Yeah.
And we had a good question from one of our IAppreciate.org members. Her name's Atiya Shams, and she has a 4-year-old. He'll be 4 next month, and he's been starting to watch. He's been starting. That's okay. You gotta plug it in. He's starting to watch sports with his dad. And her question is, you know, with so many professional players in all sports leaving behind less than moral reputations, how conscientious are you of the fact that children look to you as a role model? And is it something that you were thinking about while you were playing in the NFL? And just in general now, even though, you know, because you're a well-known figure throughout it. So.
You know, I think having experienced both sides of it, having played and now retired and not playing, you know, it's when these young men are involved in it, they're involved in it so heavily that they go from college, some of them straight out of high school, into this lifestyle. And this lifestyle, it's different. It's completely different.
Right.
I mean, you know, I appreciate how hard everyone works for it, and I get the fact about what's done, but at the end of the day, it's a game.
Right.
You know, and they give these athletes, they put them on these huge pedestals, and because they're good at a game, they expect them to be role models in society, which they do have responsibility. But at the same time, you know, just because a guy can go and throw a no-hitter doesn't mean he cares about people. I mean, it means he can go throw a no-hitter and nobody else can.
Exactly.
You know, just because a guy goes and runs for 400 yards in a game doesn't mean that he doesn't respect God. You know, stuff like that doesn't mean, I mean, just because you own a company doesn't mean that you're living the way you're supposed to.
Right.
And the fact that athletes are given so much money and put out on a public display, of course they're going to be the ones who get the brunt of the whole incident. And, you know, now stepping away, you're an athlete, half the time you don't want to talk to anyone. I mean, you want to go get your work because everyone wants something from you. You autograph, money, something. So being an athlete, you're kind of living tunnel vision. Let me do my stuff and I'm going to be oblivious to the world. Where if you be an athlete on this pedestal, now you start doing something that the world sees you as, and people can start believing in you. Now, yes, now that man right there, he took his responsibility, his superhuman powers or super ability, and now he's using it for a great cause. Instead of just saying, oh, I'm an athlete, you know, whatever. I mean, and that goes for business owners. I mean, it's sad because teachers and, you know, firefighters and police officers who are the ones out here on the front line, how come they're not looked up in the same way as a professional athlete? Is it because they're not getting the money? Because it's not because they're not doing the same hard work.
Right.
You know, it's not because they're not outside fighting the same battles. I mean, you know.
You got that fame aspect because, you know, with the athlete, you know, people see. I mean, how many millions of people have seen your face have seen your jersey, have 100%. Seen your name, have seen your face on TV. So unfortunately, they don't get the same type of recognition.
Right. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, once I stop playing, you really get aware of the situations. I mean, that's why I try to do as much as I can in the community because God's given me so many resources, so many, and spread them, spread them. Just give them out, and you know, I'm a strong believer in what God, who He is, and how He's still alive, and how He moves in my life, and I put everything in faith in Him, and there's a disconnect there somewhere in life. That's a different conversation.
Right, no, that is, but, that's something we can talk about.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, sure.
But you know, that's how I believe, and that's why I speak it on camera.
No, that's respectful.
Because I don't hide that. But you know, back to the athlete thing. You know, it's sad that they get